Hi, my name is Felice, and this is the Happy Star Wars Guy. And in this episode, we are going to customize this Princess Leia Rebel gun. This is the the one you can get on Amazon through Rubies or through Rubies just in general. It was white with orange, and actually you can see some of the orange still there. We'll take care of that with some black in a bit. And what I want to do is I want to battle weather it a little bit. So we're going to work on the tip. We're going to work around here just to give it a little metal finish. And we'll put some also some stuff around here to make it shine a little bit. I was looking at some of the reference photos and it seemed like this part was a little shinier than the hilt, which makes sense. So we're just gonna, make the best for some cosplay in the future. A little thing about me and my family, we love to do cosplay, and my family humors me in doing Star Wars with me, so we're gonna dig in. One of the paints we're gonna use, I like to use Citadel, just so you can see that. It's Citadel Rung Fang steel. And then for the black, we're going to use actually the Army Painter War Paints matte black, just to kind of cover up that area. This I ordered off of Amazon. The Citadel paints I got at a local comic shop. I'm in St. Louis, so I used Fantasy Shop, and they carry a good selection there, which is awesome, and they're actually right by my house. So let's dig in. First, let's get some paint out, and I'm going to choose some brushes. I'm going to show you this brush particularly because this brush it's kind of hard, and it's got the bristles that are well, kind of uneven, and they help with the detailing when you're doing something to make it look a little more rustic, so I like using that brush. I'm going to pull the paint out of the bottle with this brush. That's brand new, and we're going to dig in. So while I do this, I'm going to talk about some fun things in Star Wars, just because I think watching a video of somebody paint is kind of boring at times. It's always interesting to kind of hear some of the narrative, but so we're going to dig in here. I sort of feel like Bob Ross, and if some of you are old enough, you know what I'm talking about. So we're just going to get a little of this paint in here for starters and see where it takes us. I'm not going to add any water to this. I'm just going to mix it up really good because it's already kind of a thin paint. Okay, and I forgot to get my handy clean brush, water out. Recently I saw that there was a release of a comic book that premiered Snoke, or highlighted Snoke and Kylo Ren, and I know there's a lot of videos out there saying, oh, this is talking about how Palpatine is going to come back, and it shows that Palpatine was actually Snoke, and I'm actually not sold on that theory. It's quite possible. I think that it is possible just due to what we know on Snoke and the Emperor, but I'm not sold on it yet. So we're going to start at the tip. We're going to work our way out. This is a dry brushing method. So I'm going to kind of take a little bit of that extra paint off the brush, and I'm going to start detailing the end and we'll kind of take the brush and pull from it like this, just to kind of give it that wear around the edge. And the more we do this, I've found in my painting, as I've done some miniatures, and actually I learned from Sorastro, and I'll put a link to where I learned how to paint. Let me get some more light over here. So we can see better. So we're gonna just kind of wear out the end of that gun, and I think it really makes it pop out, and it doesn't overdo it. There's going to be a lot of scrapage and wornness, I think, on a gun, so I'm going to do that. And this is all open to my own interpretation, but I just wanted to give it some wear to make it look like it's more realistic. So I don't need to have it perfect, which is fun when you're painting and less stressful. I'm going to take a little bit of this and just add some more paint so I can drag it. So anyway, I was watching or reading the comic book this weekend, and I don't know, it's really interesting. I don't want to spoil it for you. You should go read the comic if you're into it. If you're not, here's the part where you can mute it, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the comic if you don't want to read it. So basically Snoke takes Kylo Ren to Dagobah, to the cave, the infamous cave where Skywalker originally went, and kind of found out that there was something more to his relationship with Darth Vader than he wanted to know about, and that Obi-Wan and Yoda had talked about. So yeah, I kind of like that. That's nice. I'm going to kind of drag the brush over here too. So anyway, Obi-Wan and Yoda, of course, we all know from Revenge of the Sith, were there to hide the fact that Leia and Luke were the children of Darth Vader. And so we have this scene in the comic book that shows Luke and Luke on Dagobah, and I'm gonna come across this really quick just to kind of give it a go over, just to kind of take some of that extra paint off, but yet give it some detail. So anyway, in the cave, Kylo Ren fights Luke. Snoke kind of basically downplays Kylo Ren and tries to get him to be more angry than normal. And it's really interesting because I think what happens in the comic book shows that Kylo Ren is a lot more powerful than Snoke imagined, and I think that it's a nice comic that gives a precursor to what ends up happening to Snoke in The Force Awakens. So that's really interesting to me. If you notice, I'm kind of getting the silver here a little bit all over the place, but I'm going to come in with a fine brush on with the black and kind of go over it. The great thing about using paint is you can usually fix your mess ups. And I've noticed on some of the reference photos there was some stressing right here, so we're going to do that, mainly focusing on the edges to really bring out the wornness, because if you think, the edges are going to be the first part that gets worn out, and then some of this stuff is going to get worn. We're going to just kind of just lightly go over this part, but not so much. And I'm going to come back around on this side and do the same thing, just a little bit. Excuse me. So anyway, I have to admit, just again, I want to talk while I'm painting about Star Wars, so watching me paint isn't as boring. I am actually one of the weird people that is not a huge fan of thinking that Star Wars Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie in the world, and I think that really is because I was young enough that I ended up being a Return of the Jedi baby because I was old enough to really understand what Star Wars was at that point. And to me, Return of the Jedi is probably one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and I think that Return of the Jedi really has just an awesome a lot of action in it. And it's when we finally get to see Luke, you know, it's our first real major battle scene. I know Empire Strikes Back has a battle scene, but I think there's more passion because Luke knows what to do with his lightsaber a little bit better. And to me, that is where it really shines out. Okay, I'm noticing that on this part it's a little uneven, so I am going to make it not look like paint strokes by taking a little extra paint here and going over it. I hope you can see that. Just gonna dab that up a bit. And then I'm going to end up doing the top a little bit on this side. And then I'm probably going to end up going over it with a little black just to really pull that color out and not make it so hand painted, but more realistic. The key to dry brushing is actually getting a fairly dry brush. So that means that, you know, these rub-offs are going to show up because of this. Yeah, let's do a little wornness on that trigger. Trigger is going to get really worn. The great thing about dry brushing is the paint dries really quickly, so you don't get much paint on yourself. I don't know if we can see this. Alright, I kind of like what I've done there. I'm going to go and get some black here out and dip my brushes in and start over with some new paint. Shake this paint up. Sorry I didn't pre-do that. Just put a couple dabs out here, and we're gonna actually a little archaic, but I'm going to grab some water here. It's a great way to reuse the kids' medicine syringes. So I'm going to take a really kind of gnarly brush, and if you can see here, I like the way that's kind of spread out. Get a better detail there. So anyway, I'm gonna mix the paint. It's nice and black, it's flat, and then I'm gonna do definitely some major dry brushing to go over the silver again, and I might do the silver one more time. So we're gonna see again with the dry brushing. The important thing is to actually get the brush fairly dry, and then we're going to go back over some of these areas, and then that helps kind of die down what we've done. Kind of adds a new dimension also to that original dry brushing, which I like. It's the great thing about painting is that you can really kind of cover up some of the oopses at times. Now I'm really going to dry brush this. The great thing about painting is that you can layer, and it'll really help things pop out. It'll also kind of, doing this layering aspect will kind of soften the colors that we have on here. And just lightly brush. I'm going to go get that other paint that I decided to use. This is Nullen oil, and it gives a nice black dark sheen, and it's really, really wet. So we're just going to actually directly use the container for this. I'm not going to transfer it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply here, and it's going to give a nice glossy sheen to this part of the gun. And since it's so wet, I'm going to take my time and really get it in there, because the paint will really start moving on you if you don't control it. And typically this is used to kind of bring out the detail in your creases when you're doing miniatures. But for this, I wanted to kind of give a nice sheen to the hilt. So we're going to come in and do it this way right here. Make sure we get that area. And we're just going to carry that all the way to the end, and then carry it all the way back up, because we got a little extra. Again, we don't want to get it on the grip part completely. We just want to bring it up here. And then we're going to bring it down to make it complete area. Bring it over here. And then we're going to end up doing the same. Oh, made a mistake. we can get this off. Let's use a little water. Drag this over it. We'll probably end up going back over it a little bit with the flat black. I know we pulled a little bit of that, and I'm just using some soda water for that. Alright, it's one side. Actually, I noticed this little section here is missing a little silver, so I'm going to dry a brush. I'm just going to pull a little bit off of the silver and just kind of go like that. And I'm going to hit this just a little bit. I'm going to hit this back end. And then I'm going to come back with that harsh brush that I have and dry that really well, but yet have a little water on there to help make it kind of stressed. Yeah, that's not too bad. Okay. Very nice. And as you can see, as it's dried, you can kind of see that detail pop out. Now we're going to go on this side, and we're going to use lanolin oil again, and we're going to help make this section pop. Yeah, Return of the Jedi is probably one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Again, because by the time I was, I think I was 3 going on 4 at the time, and it was just something that I had really enjoyed. I remember that year when Christmas came out, it was all about Star Wars, and that just brings back happy memories. And so Return of the Jedi really makes me happy. The Ewoks were really cool. Who would have known until later when you watch the footage on the behind the scenes of Star Wars that the Ewoks were actually an idea of a planet of Wookiees, and then we end up getting to see that planet of Wookiees in Revenge of the Sith, which is really cool. So this Nolan oil did not do what I wanted to do, so I'm going to end up using a lacquer on it. I thought this was going to be a little more poppy, but we learn when we're doing this stuff. So anyway, alright, well, I've got what I needed to do for today. I'm going to let this Nolan oil set in, and then I'm going to end up coming back in with some lacquer, and you'll get to see the finished product on Instagram, where you can follow me. I share photos of my Star Wars collection, and next week I am going to finish painting these guys. These are from Imperial Assault by Fantasy Flight. And also, just thank you for your time. Thank you for the day. Just kind of highlight what we've done today. Just kind of going over and getting these details in. So that was fun. I'm ready to show this off at cosplay, and it'll be fun. We've got the Ruby's Princess Leia outfit for my wife next time we do Comic-Con. So thank you very much. Have a great day. May the Force be with you, And don't forget to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. And please share it with your friends and family who are Star Wars enthusiasts. And you can look up Happy Star Wars on Instagram to follow me. And daily I post some of my collection on Instagram. So thank you very much, and may the Force be with you.